Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today and allowing us to discuss some of the challenges and strategies for successful mobile testing. Before we get into it, just a brief introduction about me. My name is Corné Kloppers. I'm the DevOps Automation Delivery Manager with Planit, based in Melbourne. I have over 15 years of experience in software development, architecture and DevOps, with the last 5 years focused around DevOps and automation. Since joining Planit, I've had multiple client engagements focusing on mobility and testing practices. Planit is the leader in quality assurance, providing organizations around the world with best-in-class consultancy and training to ensure project success. We have a team of over 1,000 specialist testing consultants working across Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, New Zealand and the UK. Planit has also recently acquired a company in India, Hyderabad, called 10X Labs. So we're looking forward for another 130 testing specialists to join the Planit family. Before we dive into some of the challenges and strategies, let's look at the current state and numbers around mobility. It's estimated by 2017 that more than 270 billion mobile apps will be downloaded worldwide. Global mobile traffic grew 74% in 2015, and if we look at the graph towards the bottom there, we can see that the Asia Pacific region is right up there in terms of growth for 2015. Also, the average smartphone usage grew 43% in 2015. Looking at some forecasts for the next 5 years, it's estimated that the number of mobile connected devices per capita will reach 1.5 by 2020. That's 1.5 mobile devices per person worldwide. We also see that 75% of the world's mobile data traffic will be video, which will be an interesting aspect to address when looking at testing mobile applications, when a lot of the content and the usability around that is based around video. Looking at another graph towards the bottom there, we can see that there's almost linear growth year on year for mobile data traffic, astronomical figures. If we look at some of the challenges, from my experience, these challenges can usually group within 3 high-level categories. By no means are these the only challenges to address. It's just the ones that I want to make you aware of today. First one is performance, usability, and security. Performance. Great mobile experiences require great performance. Some issues to address around performance is the fact that it's the scary ghost in mobile quality. It's invisible. It wreaks havoc with your mobile application and you don't know what's going on until the damage has already been done. Today, performance problems with mobile applications lead directly to revenue loss, brand damage and diminished employee productivity. If a mobile app takes too long to work, in most cases the user will think that it's broken and just delete the app, and you have a disgruntled customer. And it's more expensive to retain a disgruntled customer than to acquire a new one. Usability. Usability answers the question, can the user accomplish their goal? Things that we see around usability is the fact that quality issues for mobile apps is of greater importance compared to web and desktop. We also see an increasing and better areas around UI gestures for mobile applications like touch, tap, force touch, drag, swipe or fling, to name a few. A lot of these gestures are platform specific, like iOS and Android, or some of the Samsung Android devices will have different gestures, which makes it even harder as there's no consistency around these gestures around the different platforms. We also see that micro interactions are becoming more prevalent. Micro interactions are the tiny details that serve an essential function. An example of a micro interaction would be is if you swipe or put the little button on the side of your iPhone to silent and you get that little haptic buzz. That is a micro interaction. Serves an important purpose to the usability, but how do you test that? We also see that split screen functionality catches on, particularly with the increasing screen sizes that we see in the mobile devices. A lot of applications need to be aware of the fact that it can be rendered in a split screen setup, and we need to address that when it comes to testing. We also see an increasing influence of wearables, smartwatches, smart tags, all of these mobile applications that run on these wearable devices. will have a need for testing. We also see the need for testing in the real world. Things that we need to deal with are connectivity modes. What happens to your app when the user switch from Wi-Fi to an LTE or 4G connection? How does the app behave? What is the impact on the usability for the user? There's also this context awareness, invisible UX as it's called as well, where an application, by using the device sensors, might render different usability views to the application user based on the context that it's in. And then another important aspect is crowdsourced testing. Crowdsourced testing is when you actually put your application in front of real users in real world scenarios. Moving on towards security, take the same precautions on your mobile device as you do on your computer with regards to messaging and online safety. Some security aspects that we need to address is the fact that today devices are always online and traceable. A lot of testing practice that we see focus more around functionality rather than security. And given the scope of your application, if you have a financial or a banking application, security becomes very important. We also see an almost exponential increase in mobile malware. There's a multitude of mobile devices and OS platforms, which has got an implication on security. Some platforms might have different security requirements with regard to testing. There's also endless threats and attacks. Some of the ones that you can see that I've listed there becomes very important in certain scenarios. Given that we have these high-level challenges, let's look at some strategies to address these challenges. Again, these strategies by no means are the only strategies, it's just the ones that I have outlined in 3 high-level areas around proper planning and strategy. As with anything in life, a good plan sets you on a good path and helps you to be successful. We also see the need for improving testing around non-functional aspects. A lot of the testing practice has got a major focus on functional aspects, but non-functional aspects needs to be addressed. And then the adoption of device cloud and modern tools that will help you to test better. Planning and strategy. The essence of a strategy is choosing what not to do. Some of the planning and strategy aspects is making sure that you establish an optimal mobile test and launch strategy. Standardized testing approach becomes particularly important when you scale your practice across different teams. You might have a team that purely develop and test around iOS, another team that develop and test around Android or Windows Phone. It's important that the approach across those teams are aligned so that you can also have testing resources that move between the teams and not have to start over from a testing strategy approach. It's also important to create tests that reflect your customers, data networks, devices, and business models. As I said, master both functional and non-functional approaches to testing and create and choose personas to use during your test journey. If we take a travel application as an example, some personas that you might look at is a family with 2 kids. Maybe another persona could be an older couple, and a third persona could be a single traveler. It's important when you map out your test scenarios that you keep these personas in mind and put yourself in their shoes with regards to testing the application and making sure that the features in the application serves those personas and what their requirements would be. It's important to test on emulators, simulators, and actual devices, and it's good to have a balance between manual and automated testing. We see in a lot of cases that people want to automate everything and do away with manual testing completely. It's not feasible. It's always a good thing to have some level of manual testing done by actual humans. It's important to automate the obvious things, take away the cumbersome tasks, the easy tasks that your manual testers are currently do. Automate that and allow your manual testers to add more value by looking at different angles. We also see the notion of continuous testing, moving some of the testing practice more towards the left. Continue to test early and make it part of your delivery pipeline. With the increasing area around wearables, it's important to test wearables and IoT devices. I've seen a lot of places where there is an actual Apple Watch application that never gets tested. Also, as I said before, allow for your manual testers to be more exploratory in nature, where they can add the most benefit. Think of different angles, edge cases that's hard to automate. Going into non-functional testing wants to see if the product stands up to customers' expectations. What are some of the non-functional aspects to test? Performance, load, security, compatibility, and migration. There are other non-functional areas as well, but these are probably some of the more important areas to test in the non-functional space. According to a recent report, 90% of apps had tested that were tested had at least 2 critical security vulnerabilities, and 50% of organizations have zero budget dedicated to security testing. One type of non-functional testing, but we see that in other areas when it comes to non-functional testing as well, that teams usually have very little resource and budget around non-functional testing. Make use of software as a service providers to help you with some of your non-functional testing. If we take security for an example, you can look at something like HPE Fortify, Veracode, that will help you to address some of the non-functional testing aspects of your application, like code scanning, static analysis, etc. And another aspect to address is crowdsourced testing. Use crowdsourced testing to help you with some of your non-functional testing. Device cloud. Automate the end-to-end testing on real devices and emulators to help you build a memorable app experience based on extensive real-world mobile app testing, live monitoring, and user insights. Device cloud providers to look at are things like Amazon Device Farm, Xamarin. IBM has also recently brought the TestDroid mobile device farm under the Bluemix umbrella. We've also seen recent reports of Facebook building their own device farm. Who knows, maybe they make it available to the public at some stage and make it a part of their paid service. It's also important to look at some gateway device technologies that, for example, HPE Mobile Centre can provide, which is a tool that sits in front of your device cloud providers that help you with some of the data and metrics that come out of your device cloud providers. Test native, hybrid, and web mobile applications. We see a lot of teams moving away from native only to develop hybrid apps. Device cloud technologies can certainly help you to scale your testing across those 3 areas. It will also help you to cover more test scenarios, run a lot of tests in parallel on many devices at the same time, something that will surely be very hard to do and very expensive if you do it in-house. Device cloud technologies also help you to address the rapid release cycles that we see today in mobile space. Cloud testing increases efficiency by prioritizing devices. For example, we see Amazon Device Farm always give you the top 5 iOS and Android devices. If next month a new phone gets released, like the iPhone 7, certainly that will be one that is automatically made part of your prioritized devices to test over. And as I said, it's easier to test non-functional scenarios like performance and get metrics that can certainly help you with your testing practice. Thank you for your attention during today's presentation. As you progress your testing practice and address the challenges you face, I'd like you to think about these success factors. Have high expectations, be an expert on mobile devices, be on the move, test in the wild, build your programming skills, and be a constant learner. Thank you very much.